Welcome to the Balanced Ambition podcast. I'm your host, Matt Southam. Here, we delve into candid conversations with entrepreneurs, exploring both their business journey and their secrets to maintaining mental well-being. As we navigate the balance of ambition and inner peace, I hope you find insights, inspiration, and invaluable takeaways in every episode. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to the show. I want to start today by asking you to take me back. Give me some context about your life. Tell me about those school days and college and what you did.
Sure. Well, I won't go right back to school days, but I pivoted dramatically from my desire when I was at school to what I ended up doing as a career. So at school, I was very arty, into kind of like painting, jewellery, very kind of like from Devon, very much chilled out, kind of, not what I'm doing now. So I've grown into the law rather than it was always a burning ambition. So, I went to university and did a degree in society, economy and social policy. Loved it, really enjoyed there being not a right answer to anything. There is, lots of, on the one hand this, on the one hand that, and conclusion, well, there's no answer. So I clearly had that sort of like bent about me that actually I'm able to argue both sides of the case. But it was on top of that, I wanted to give my law degree some backbone, my social science degree some backbone. So I did a 1-year law conversion course, really enjoyed that and thought, hey, if I do another year, I'll do the legal practice course. I could potentially become qualified as a solicitor. So it was a step-by-step process. And before I knew it, I was qualified as a solicitor. My first training contract was in London. And so I was working in private practice in London, doing company commercial work. The recession hit, and I didn't enjoy being made by senior partners to go out to networking events, to be ogled over by lots of male executives that really weren't interested in talking to a junior lawyer about corporate law. So I decided it would be a good idea to go in-house. So I ended up with 2 job offers on the table. One with Cemex and one with Novartis. And I thought pharmaceuticals might be a bit more interesting than cement. So that's how I fell into the life science industry, and I've not looked back. So I started off as a junior lawyer within Novartis, not knowing a thing about the regulations pertaining to pharmaceutical products. As you can imagine, it's a highly regulated industry. Yeah. So I had a lot to learn. But not only a lot to learn about the law, also a lot to learn about working within a corporate structure. But 20 years on, having stepped around various different pharmaceutical companies, I survived the corporate culture. But during that time, I found it really difficult in terms of the culture, the learning that actually it's not enough to be a lawyer. You've got to understand the business. You've got to be able to interact with difficult stakeholders sometimes, sales and marketing teams that all have their own agendas, but trying to keep the business safe at the same time with the law and ensuring that actually they are keeping the right side of the law, albeit making sure that you are not the showstopper, because often lawyers are seen as showstoppers before we've even opened our mouths. So there's a lot to being an in-house lawyer.
Yeah, and I can guess that, you're saying not being a showstopper. Actually, you said about arguing both sides of the coin, and often you had to be a little bit creative, I would guess, in trying to work out ways, okay, we can't maybe do this, but let's look at a way we can do something. And again, I suppose working with other departments to ensure everyone's happy.
Exactly, being that solutions-orientated lawyer. Yeah. So the sales and marketing guys will have their goal. This is what they want to achieve. And actually it's looking at, with the business, understanding what they want to achieve and working with them to find a solution so that actually they are achieving what they want the right way, i.e. the right side of the law. So yes, keeping each side of the coin happy. So the business gets what they want, but also it's the right side of the law.
Yeah, and juggling that corporate world can be a challenge. And from there, you went out to set up on your own. What was the main driving force behind that?
Sure. So during my time as an in-house lawyer, I found it really difficult to obtain additional resource and support from lawyers and compliance professionals with industry expertise. So I think, as I alluded to earlier, it's not enough to be a lawyer within any in-house role. So there is that is the first issue. But if you couple that on top of being in a highly regulated industry, you need to understand the regulations and you need to understand how to implement those within an organization. So when I became a legal manager, it meant that I had a team that I needed to recruit and keep engaged. But when someone left within the team or there was an additional project that needed to be undertaken that you didn't have a resource to do, I found it nigh on impossible to obtain that resource quickly from lawyers that could pick up the reins without being coached to do so. So I decided, well, it was a dream along the way that, wouldn't it be amazing if there was a consultancy firm that provided that solution? And that's what life science law is. We provide that solution for in-house legal and compliance teams, or indeed for companies that don't have an in-house legal or compliance team at all. We can be that resource to them. So that's how it was born. It was out of a gap that I experienced when I was in-house, and I wanted to find a solution for managers to be able to close that gap.
Yeah, so you've always obviously clearly been very solution focused, and you saw that was a problem, and you were like, right, how can I solve it? And then you ended up setting up your own business.
Yeah.
Did you sort of step out and just go straight into that? Did you have a little bit of some funds set aside, or was it just a little bit of right, I've got a belief in myself, I'm going to make it work from day one? How did that journey go?
How did it work? So I had a couple of false starts. So in 2015, it always happened with, right, I'm going to do this when a role ended, whether I decided that it was a time to end or for whatever reason. I was looking for that next role, that next opportunity. And so I was like, right, in 2015, I'm going to set up LS Law. But I was then lured back into my last corporate role at Bristol Myers Squibb. But then a few years later, I always was like, right, this is my last corporate gig. The next time that I decide that I want to move on for a different career opportunity, that's when I'm going to do LS Law. And I did exactly that. So in 2020, I was in that situation where I was like, yes, I can, go and get that step up the ladder in another pharmaceutical company, or I can have a go at my dream. So it was at that point that I had a go at my dream. But I didn't just sit down at a computer and go, right, okay, that's it. I am now going to set the business, off we go. I'm a lawyer, so I'm risk averse. So I needed to ensure that I had an income coming in. So I myself took on some consultancy roles myself. So I was doing, for the first year, I did a full-time consultancy role whilst I wrote my website and got my story together. So I can say for the first year, I really didn't reach out to get any clients at all. I didn't have enough confidence, actually, if I'm really honest, to be able to go, right, come on, you've got a service offering here. I'm a typical lawyer, right? I wanted to write the story, have the context, be confident that actually I was offering something of value. So that was the first year. And then the second year that I took on another contract role. But by the end of that second year, it was impossible to carry on a full-time role and run LS Law, because by which time I had clients, I had consultants. I suddenly had a business that I needed to learn how to run.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see that. I mean, I come from a creative background, and actually lots of creatives I speak to, we very much get going and then just sort of work it out as we're going. And actually, I was reading a book a couple of days ago, and basically it was saying about different stages of running a business. And actually, as creatives, you can get away with that at the start as almost bootstrap your startup. But as you get to that stage where, I can't remember what they said, I think it was once you'd hit 5 employees, you do need to have some really good processes in place. You really do need to, refine your offering. You can't just be winging it. And lots of people do from an early startup. And it works fine when it's very small numbers. But yeah, also you're dealing in a different profession. You're offering legal services, and therefore you needed those bits in place. But was there always that little bit of fear holding you back from going for it? Did you get to that stage, I think what I'm asking is, where actually you did have everything in place, but were you ever sort of, oh, maybe I just need that bit of paper. Maybe I just need to do that. Maybe if I just do this and then next week I'll get going. Where did you overcome that?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I think that's why it took me 2 years to properly get going, was fear, actually, of oh my gosh, but what if I haven't done that the right way? Oh gosh, but also believing in myself. Who's going to believe in my story? I kind of like think it's a good idea, but actually going out there and trying to sell it, I almost felt like, oh my gosh, you're not good enough for this.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work. And how did I overcome that? Actually, I overcame it. I had great support from my son, actually, who was always supportive of me. And I went, Mum, you can do this. Come on. And he actually worked with me developing my website. And he is a creative, by the way. He is someone that gets out there. He runs his own business as well. So, he was the one that was like, Mum, what are you waiting for? Get on, come on, just do it. And, oftentimes I would go, oh, Aaron, I think I should just go and get another job. What do I think I'm doing here? And so it was his belief in me that actually gave me the confidence to go out and give it a go. But then when I got the first client in, that was when I think I really got my confidence of like, oh my gosh, I've actually got a client now. Wow, actually someone wants to kind of use my services. So that made me get going with it. But not confident enough to give up the contract role and just put myself fully into the swimming pool. And when I did that 2 years later, that was hugely scary, even though I had got enough reserves within the bank to ensure that I didn't need to work. I could live off the reserves that I'd created for the last 2 years. I was still thinking, what if I don't get any clients? What if it doesn't work? And actually, you know what? Even now, I'm still very much, oh my gosh, what if? Where's the next client coming from? That's a fear that hasn't gone away, but I guess I'm learning to live with it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think all of us business owners, we need to learn to live with it, because actually that imposter syndrome, it does creep in. And I saw a thing a while ago, it was about Beyonce, she gets stage fright and therefore she has this, Sasha Fierce sort of character. And I'm sort of thinking, if Beyonce is getting, scared going on stage, then us mere mortals, we're probably a little bit worried about what we're doing in a day-to-day life as well. But I saw another quote, it was something along the lines of embarrassment is the price of entry on starting something new, because when you do start something new, often you're a beginner. And I'm not necessarily with regard to your business. I don't mean a beginner with regard to the work you're delivering, but you're a beginner from running your own business. And a lot of the time, that's quite different from actually the client work that you deliver. There is that, like you said, the website copy to create, the marketing, the story, all of that is separate to actually the delivery of client work that people are paying you for, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. No, I say every day, I feel like I'm at university again. I have no idea how to run a business. Well, hopefully I have a little bit more of an idea now, but honestly, I'm everything's new. And I suppose, whilst I'm saying, I'm not good at winging it, actually, I've been totally winging it with regard to setting up the business. So no, not the law side of it, not the knowledge sharing, not the expertise that we're providing, the service offering, but actually the infrastructure around that service offering. Yeah, I'm totally winging it. I'm totally fearful that I'm doing the right thing. But one thing that I do know, and it is a mantra that I do keep inside, is you only learn from doing. And I think you said it earlier, you learn the most from your mistakes. So just get on and do it. And if it doesn't work, stop doing it and try something different. You only know what works until you try different things.
Yeah. I think as adults, we are very fearful of those mistakes. I see the resilience in young children, even like learning to walk, they get up, they fall down, they get up, they fall down. But they keep going and they learn through making all of those mistakes. But as adults, we seem to be fearful. And I think it is that, whether it's embarrassment to our peers or social media or even just internally, feeling a little bit disappointed in yourself. But as soon as you accept, actually, you only know what you know, and we're learning every day. I try and treat every day like you said, like you're at university or you're still just learning. We can all learn something from someone else.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think, what was I going to say? You learn the most from your mistakes, but also there is no such thing as a stupid question, right? No. And it's the same thing with, there's no such thing as a stupid action. If you don't try, you never know. If you don't ask, you're never going to know. So I think that's that is something that I've kind of like tried to kind of like assimilate between, previously in the classroom situation, learning the law, I needed to ask lots of questions, and actually getting over that in the classroom setting of like, it probably isn't a stupid question, just ask it anyway, because actually you will normally find it's not a stupid question and everyone else has got that question in their head, but it's been too afraid to ask. And I find, the same when I talk about some of the business challenges I've had. You start talking to other business owners and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was terrible. And they've experienced the same thing. So actually for the failure or something that's gone wrong, it's not because you're stupid. It's just what happens when you're learning what's right for your business.
Yeah, I think we very much see the hustle, the success, everyone doing really well on social media. And I've had these conversations with other people who have been in that corporate world. If they've sat in these big board meetings and something's being discussed and they're sort of thinking, I don't really understand this. And luckily, someone eventually does say, sorry, can you just explain that to me? And it's normally an outside consultant, someone who isn't about to get fired by their boss because they're there to learn. And they realise half the room don't know what it is they're talking about. But you get so caught up in that, well, I'm in this position. I can't ask a question, keep my head down because I should probably know this. But as business owners, we are learning a lot of the time along the way. And that's where getting support from other people, from people within the industry or people within business can be really valuable. And I think that's something as business owners we need to maybe get better at, whether it's asking for help or sharing failures or sharing situations and issues that we've come across to get ideas from other people.
Yeah, exactly right. And similarly, but differently, I've put together a forum for our consultants actually to provide that safe space to be able to ask the stupid questions, to be able to get that camaraderie, that tribe of like-minded, life science lawyers that actually we all have the same challenges and fears, and actually just talking to others and realizing that you're not the only person that has that fear, I think is hugely beneficial.
Yeah. So outside of work, what do you do to switch off from work? Because I've always been really conscious as a business owner. I have at times worked incredibly long hours and probably not given myself enough breaks. I now force myself to, and in fact, I structure my day around that. But what do you do outside of work?
Yeah. So I love to run. I've got a dog. I've got a Dalmatian who also loves to run. So my days start off with a run in the countryside with the dog. So that's how I start my day, and that energizes me for the day. I have to say, during the day, I need to get better at taking breaks at lunchtime. Like I always have a lunch blocked out in my calendar, but do I use that? No, I don't. That is something that I need to work on. I think in the evenings, I am good at switching off, and whether it's going out for a walk, normally it's in nature is how I properly switch off, because I think watching TV, I don't really switch off properly. I often cannot tell you what's on the TV. I'm often thinking about what's going on in the business world. So the thing that really enables me to switch off is exercise and sport and being outside in nature.
Yeah, I do often joke that, sometimes our evenings become just an extension of the workday. We're just looking at a different screen, whether it's one that's a bigger one that's up on the wall or a smaller one that's in our hand. We're just looking at a screen again, and actually going to do something different is actually the real break. It's not just moving position. Certainly for people who work from home, I work from home, and therefore having a little bit of differentiation between the working day and relaxing or switching off. And I haven't always been brilliant at it. Have you found times where you've almost realised I've been working too much, or I haven't switched off, or do
Very
you
much
find
so.
getting out?
But absolutely. And then actually feeling guilty if I've taken time out. So for instance, whilst I've said, running is something I'm enjoying doing, I'm also learning to play golf, and I'm also learning to play paddle. And on a Monday morning, there is a paddle class that actually I struggle to go to because it's Monday morning. I can't possibly, go to a paddle class on Monday morning. But then I tell myself, why can't you? You can work Monday evening. You can work Sunday if you want to. Another reason why you set up your company is to provide you with the freedom to work when you want to work, not when someone's dictating and telling you when you should work. But it's ingrained with me that from 9 until 5:30, I should be at my desk, and I feel guilty if I'm not.
Yeah, I've had this conversation as well. It's a block I haven't quite got over yet, from the fact of, COVID period when lots of people worked from home and things. I suppose that taught us that we were able to do our jobs from home. But one thing that it hasn't changed is the 9 to 5 routine. Although during that period I was working some funny hours, and I saw a great thing on the bottom of someone's email that their signature basically said, "I'm replying during my working hours. I'm currently working some funny hours. Please only reply when you're working." And actually, for a lot of us who deliver outcomes for people, it almost doesn't matter when we do that work. But we're very much caught in this 9 to 5, and I haven't quite worked out how to adjust it, because I don't want people phoning me at 8 o'clock in the evening or phoning me on a Sunday. But equally, I'd be quite happy to do a bit of work Sunday afternoon, and then, like you say, take Monday morning off.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we switch to that.
Yeah, I think it's about habit forming, isn't it? It's actually, the first time you do anything, it's difficult, but the more that you kind of practice taking that time out, for me, it's like taking that time out on a Monday morning. One of the ways in which I have justify that, I can't believe I'm saying the word justify. I need to justify why I can go out
to yourself.
That's the way I am. I now, from the beginning of the year, I started getting up at 5 a.m. So I do go to bed very early now, but I am up at 5 a.m., which then means I have me time. So I start off with journaling for an hour, and then I sort my day out for an hour. So from 6 till 7, it's doing some work, and then 7 till 8 is going for a run, and then I'm back at my desk for 9 o'clock. But I've already organized my day. I've already done some work. So for me, I feel like by 10 o'clock, I deserve a break, right? Surely I do. It's okay to have a break because I've been up since 5. And what was it's not also about how many hours you do either, is how productive you are during those time periods, which is another reason not to work solidly, because if you take a break, I find that my brain is a lot better and responds more quickly, and I get things done more quickly than if I'm working solidly without a break.
Yeah, I certainly know I can do, an hour and a half in the morning, which is probably the equivalent of 3 hours in late afternoon. I tend to know from 3:30, 4 o'clock, I've got the distractions that the kids have come home from school. Actually, I've been working all day. I've been up early, maybe been for a workout in the morning. And actually, it's not a productive time. I still work and I get some bits done, but anything that needs my full attention and to be creative, I have to do early on in the day, because that's when I'm operating. So understanding that about yourself, I think is really key. But the corporate world is very much 9 to 5:30, and you're productive throughout all of it. It doesn't take into account actually some of our lifestyles that, you've said that's the reason you started the business, yet we still get caught up into that 9 to 5:30.
Yeah, exactly. It's realizing I set the business up to give me more freedom, not less. And I tell you, I've never worked so hard in my life, but it's on my terms. I'm working hard because I want to do it. So therefore I need to make sure that actually I continue with doing it because I want to do it, not because I feel I should do it. But I'm not, I certainly haven't got it mastered. But say last week, I took some time out to go to a juicing retreat for a week, because I thought I needed it. I was burnt out, actually. I mean, I don't think I'd had a proper break since I started at Leicester. Yes, I've had holidays during that time, but I've never properly switched off. And actually, even I say that, I didn't even properly switch off for the whole week last week. But for 3 or 4 days, I did. And it was really helpful to take that time out to actually just take a step back from the business. And I was still thinking about the business, but I wasn't at the grindstone, kind of like just firefighting with what was going on around me. It was, hang on, take a step back. What are the things that are important that I do need to get done this week? Okay, the business is not going to fold if I don't do anything this week. I could have done nothing, but, I picked 2 big priorities that I wanted to progress. And those were the only things that I did do last week. There was a bit of monitoring of email, but not really. And honestly, the benefits that I feel from that this week, I've come back, I'm excited about my business again. I'm energized. I'm up at 5 a.m. and I'm happy to be at my desk. And, I am running the business now rather than the business running me. I very much felt, a week ago, I set this up for freedom. This is not freedom. This is a business that actually is turning into a monster. I need to take control of this and get it back in its box.
Yeah, I think taking time out to be able to decide what's actually a priority to work on is one key thing. I very much joke, I quite like, again, working pre 9 a.m. to get a bit of work in before that inbox of, your email starts pinging, because I almost joke that I've got my really important to-do list, and then Outlook is this other to-do list being set by other people throughout the day. It's like, hang on a minute, I've already got my to-do list. So being able to take time and say, actually, I'm working sort of on the business rather than just in it, is a skill in itself. And I think the only way is to structure time to do it. You commented about forming that habit, and one way that I've found is actually to use almost like a partner or someone else to force me to do it. So one of the ones I did was I always used to do the school pickup on a Friday. I now do it on a Wednesday, but it was on a Friday. And the reason for that was because I was up early. I'd gone networking in the morning, and I kept saying, I'm going to finish early on a Friday. And I just wouldn't. It would just carry on working. But the fact my daughter had literally just started school, so when she started, I was like, right, I'm going to pick her up. And there was no way I was going to be late picking her up, on that first week of school. And it formed that habit of I was finishing early, leaving the office on time, because I had a responsibility to someone else who was, more important than me. So that actually got into the habit of finishing early. Whereas without that, I might have done it once or twice, but probably not very regularly.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, my son is now in his 30s, so I don't have the accountability or responsibility of my child anymore, but I have the responsibility of my dog.
Yeah.
Right. So she needs to go out for a walk, in the morning and at lunchtimes and in the evening. So that helps me to be accountable to her, but also it helps me with what I know I need to do. I know I feel so much better when I come back from taking a break away from my desk to go and get some fresh air and some exercise. So I've never regretted going for a run. I've always regretted not going for a run. Yeah,
that's so true. It doesn't matter how whether you're feeling a bit groggy or a bit tired, actually going out, whether it's a walk, whether it's a run, whether it's to the gym, some sort of exercise, ideally outside, you never feel worse.
No, you don't. No. Not often.
No. Apart from those days where it's absolutely chucking it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to me just finally today. Your advice that you would give to someone setting up a business. Perhaps they're working in that corporate environment at the moment. They're good at what they do, but they're doing it for someone else, or they can see there's a better way of doing it. What advice would you give to someone?
The advice I would give is, we only live once. There's no rehearsals. Just do it. It's easy for me to say because I've done it. It was such a hard decision, and it is really scary. But I know that, I would regret not having had a go at this. So that's the advice, is often, by having a go at it, it doesn't mean to say that you are closing the door on what came before in terms of your career. No. It's just having a go at something new and different. So I would say, be brave, have a go.
Wendy, that's fantastic advice. And I wish you all the best with your business. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, hear about what you do and the way you've managed to grow and juggle the business moving forward. And I wish you all the best with all the future dog walks.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Balanced Ambition podcast. I genuinely hope the stories inspire you as much as they inspire me. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with a friend. And remember, by subscribing, you won't miss an episode, and it would truly mean the world to me. Stay balanced, and I'll see you next time.